Welcome, everyone. Hopefully you've used the call instructions that our moderator Julio has put up in the chat window so you can hear. He also hit record. We will be archiving this workshop so that you can access it later. We put all of these in our school program for Splash Media U, as well as on YouTube for the general public to access. So feel free to come back to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/splashmediau, and review this and all of our other workshops at any time. We'll start in another minute and a half or so. Also, feel free, if you've got the chat window up, I'll go ahead and mention this now so we don't have to waste time later. We'd love to get to know you. So if you want to, even before we start our poll questions, which we will use to make our workshop a little bit more interactive, feel free to introduce yourself and let us know what you do in the chat window there. If you click the all selected, then everyone will see that comment. You can also address that comment just to Julio if it's something that needs to go to the moderator. So you can use that drop-down menu and then choose Julio, and he will be the only one to see that. Yes, so we had a comment saying, I'm looking at this wine folly screen. Why is that on the screen? You didn't say why is that, but I think that was implied. Because I want to get right into our examples. So I had to have this up as our first example rather than do a lot of slides with PowerPoint or something. I just want to dive right into our example sites that we're going to be talking about. So that's why that's up on the screen. And that's probably a great introduction to starting in a second here. Oh, pardon me 1 second. I've got to. You get to witness me doing this. I'm doing something I should have done before we started, and that's plugging in my computer. Very important to do that now before we start. There we go. Now we're good to go. Welcome. Welcome. I'm Duncan Gilman, Dean of Students for Splash Media U, who just plugged in his computer so that we have plenty of power to last us through this workshop. We do these workshops once a month, and we're so glad you joined us for this workshop on how to overhaul your website. Now, we called this workshop Overhaul Your Website in 5 minutes because I want to actually demonstrate setting up a very fast, easy-to-use, user-friendly website through WordPress, which is one of the platforms that we teach, but certainly not the only platform available. But I actually broke up this workshop into 3 different sections. So we're going to talk about actually building the site in the middle of the 3 sections, the second section. First, I want to address why you would want to overhaul your website. So we'll break it up into 3 sections, the why, and then the how, and I'll demonstrate how easy it is to do. And then finally, I called it the what, but it's really more about the what are the advanced features. We'll cover just a few of the features that you may want to have on your website, but you don't know how to get to them. And that's the point where I hope we'll break it open a little bit and invite you to participate via some questions. Again, just really quickly, you can chat using the chat window. When you have all selected, that means everyone will see your question. If you want to address your question just to our moderator, we've got Julio LeBron there at our campus office in Orlando, moderating and releasing some of our poll questions for you as well. So with that said, what a great transition into our first poll question, which is how old is the current design of your site? So when was the last time you did a major redesign or restructuring of your website? How old is the current design? Because the first section again is why overhaul your site, and this may provide some answers if you can shed some light just for yourself and your team onto how old the current design is. So as you notice, Julio has included that poll question in the chat window, so feel free to chat there. As far as audio and video, we've muted participants, but we certainly absolutely want you to participate via the chat window. So we'll leave up that poll question for a little bit, and you're welcome to contribute to that as we go along, and I'll periodically come back and check the chat window to see some of your answers. But if you know how old it is, go ahead and let us know, and we can kind of share and talk about how old your current website design is. There are a few reasons that I ask, and I'm going to break this down into a couple of bullet points in our first why section. One of those reasons why you may want to check and see how old is my site, does it need some revising, does it need a major overhaul, is how clear, this is the #1 priority, how clear is the path that I want users to take? And as some of our viewers have noticed, I've already got an example pulled up here. And this is a blog, a wine blog, and a wine education site called Wine Folly. Oh, let me just say this quick word before we go on to other examples. All of the examples you see are built on the WordPress platform. That's the one we're going to be demonstrating. Again, not the only one out there, but it's the one we use for Splash Media U and the one we teach at Splash Media U. So that's the one that I've used for all of our examples. They're all built on WordPress. But the number one thing to keep in mind is the clear path that you want users to take. And I love this example because right away, right from the static front page, this is just winefolly.com, there's a very clear button here, order book. I think it's pretty clear right away from this website what it is they do. They educate users on wine. They educate drinkers, consumers on wine, how to drink it, how to choose it. I can even gather some of that information just from the cover of the book they've included. White, red, different aspects of the wine, the essential guide to wine. Just from looking at the cover of the book, I can get some of that information. But the path is exceptionally clear. Wine Folly, the guide to wine. It's the essential guide to wine. Simple answers to a modern wine lifestyle. Order book, click right here. That's all above the fold, using an old advertising term from the newspaper days. Above the fold, of course, where the newspaper actually folded. If it was above the fold, it's immediately visible when you look at the newspaper. We still use that term sometimes when we refer to websites, but all of this basic information that I need is above the fold. I can click right here to order a book. If I want to scroll down, I can. And we've got some people participating in our poll question. That's great. Ancient, old Yahoo, what you see is what you get. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind as you consider whether or not your website needs an overhaul. But as I was saying, you can scroll down to get some more information about the education program, some more guides to wine. This is sort of the horizontal scrolling format that we see a lot in websites today, especially ones built on similar themes. WordPress has themes that you can choose to start your website going. You don't have to start from scratch. It's got these templated themes. Anyway, but a very simple, straightforward format that you've likely seen on lots of other sites. So question number 2 in the why is, does it feature your products or services? So my second example is a very clear example of that, Boston Market. You may have this casual fast food chain in your area. It's a rotisserie chicken restaurant, very clearly highlighting the product, huge on the page. And I'm guessing since it's a fairly big company, they probably have a mobile-friendly version of this. In fact, I encourage you while you're participating in the workshop, if you want to pick up your phone and check, I'm guessing they have a very mobile-friendly version of this, which may or may not have the same pictures, but will at least have a mobile-friendly menu up at the top. And as you scroll down, well, this particular image rotates, you can see, oddly enough, a rotisserie chicken certainly makes sense. You can scroll down and see not only the different sections of their menu, but more images of their products and foods on each of these menu sections. So little advertising card here and here with more menu items, even on their gift cards. So the product is everywhere. So I think this is a really good example of showing off the product itself. And of course, your website does not need to be this in your face in terms of your products and services. Your services, if you're a B2B company, if you offer a service rather than a food or a retail item, your products and services may not be this visual. That's okay. It still needs to be very clear what it is you offer. We've seen that in both cases now with the wine blog and Boston Market. So the third question we'll cover in our first section of why overhaul your site is it SEO friendly? And I made this the third of the 3. First was clear path, then highlight products and services, then SEO. I made that the third because I want to emphasize that it is not as important as the user friendliness of your site. I think we get caught up a lot as marketers in how SEO friendly am I optimized? I've got to bring some search words in here. We get really caught up in that and lose sight of how the website looks to the average viewer, your prospects, your leads. they are more important than SEO, because if you can attract them to your site, the SEO will follow. That's really crucial to keep in mind. If you're, oh yeah, thanks. I should probably explain. I'm checking the chat window. Julio's clarified for me. He's my human dictionary as I go through these talk in marketing terms. Search engine optimization. So we get caught up in the search optimized mindset, and we forget that the user is more important. Because as I was saying, the optimization from a search standpoint will come if you make sure that your site is user-friendly, because it's the user-friendly sites, the entertaining, the engaging, the informative, the educational sites that will get shared and rank higher if you start with that as your #1 priority. Then, yes, it is also important to keep the key phrases in mind as you build the site. And this Salesforce app is doing a great job of that. This is the automated marketing arm of Salesforce, and their site does a great job of reinforcing the key phrases. Now, the site is also very user-friendly. It does priority #1 and priority #2, but it also includes some great search engine optimization, as you can see here. So the phrase to keep in mind here, which is it very clearly sticks out among everything on the site, is B2B marketing automation. From that, it seems to be clear that that's what they do. But let's take a look at some of the SEO to make sure that we're homing in on the right key phrase. Let's go look at the meta title, the title tag of the site. This is not anything that appears necessarily on the page itself. This is the site this is the title that comes up when you do a Google search, and I can demonstrate that in a second here. But the title tag that's used on this page, and you can see it by hovering over the tab. You can see at the top of my screen, these are all the tabs that I have open. When you hover over a particular tab, the title tag appears, and you can see this is B2B. Look there's the key phrase right there. It disappeared. Because I moved my mouse. B2B marketing automation, and by Salesforce. Salesforce, of course, is a huge company, so that is a great keyword to have in there as well. But there is the key phrase right in the title tag: B2B marketing automation. Here it appears again. Here it appears as here's a variation on that phrase: marketing campaign. Here's another variation on that phrase: marketing productivity, marketing automation. So key phrase rich, but in a user-friendly way. They're not forced in. It's done in a way that really informs the user what this site and what this app is all about. So I alluded there to the title tag. Let me just quickly go off on a very brief tangent to show you what that looks like. Let's go to Google. I know I can search from the search bar, but I think it's clear if I show you directly in Google here. So let's look for marketing automation. So the title, let's scroll past the ads here. If you're not familiar with this particular portion of, oh, thank you, Julio, again, my human dictionary. If you're not familiar with this portion of search engine optimization, the title tag is the name that you give to each individual post or page on your website, not necessarily seen by the user reading your page, but it is seen by the search engine, and that's what appears in search results. So let's go down here. This is the title. What is marketing automation? Is the title tag for that particular page. The 20 most popular marketing automation software solutions. Best marketing these are all the title tags. So whatever you call your page or your post, this is where it'll appear. And what are people going to notice when they do a Google search? This. So a great reason to keep search engine optimization in mind if you decide to overhaul or even just update your site. All right, section 2. I want to move right along so we cover as much as we can. Section 2, so first we covered the why. Those 3 reasons are why to overhaul your site. Is it clear the path that you want users to take? Are your product services clearly visible and highlighted? And finally, is it search engine optimized? For any or all of those reasons, it's a great idea to revisit the structure, layout, design of your site. Now let's talk about the how. I made a couple of notes here, and forgive me while I look down for just 1 second here and take a look at my notes. So we're going to go into the how section, and our poll question here for how, we had our first poll question, when did you last update your site? Our poll
Hey,
question
Duncan,
for yes, Julio.
before we move on, we did have a question that related to the meta title.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Julio, for drawing that to my attention. Can you only have, yes, you can only have one meta title per page or per post. So for example, let's go back to our Salesforce page. This one page that you see on the screen can only have one meta title. However, let's go to their blog. Let's go to a blog post here. This particular blog post, that has its own meta title. Let's go to their solutions page where they have their services. This page has its own meta title. In fact, the title, I can hover over and see it. The title of this page is solutions. The title of this page is, no doubt, pricing. So yes, you can only have one meta title per page or post, but one of the things to keep in mind for keeping your website fresh and updated is to regularly provide it with more content. And so every time you write a new blog post, that's another opportunity for a meta title. Every time you add a page, and that's certainly something you won't do quite as often, each of these are pages, so the structure of your site may not change quite as often, but each of those pages has its own meta title. So thanks again, Julio, and feel free to interrupt me anytime if you've got a question, because I may or may not see it pop up in the chat window. So hopefully that answers the question there. And you can change the meta title, but I don't recommend you doing that unless you're going through an overhaul, because that can affect some of the optimization temporarily. Although I will say, and I'm going to get technical here, it is better to change the meta title than it is to try to change the URL of a page. So for example, and I know I'm still on this tangent here, but let's go back to the blog. Let's go back to the blog here of this Salesforce app and just click on a post here. I'll show you an example of what I mean. So the meta title, the title tag, and then both mean basically the same thing, of this particular blog post is, I'll go over, Dreamforce 2016. These are a few of our favorite things. So in this case, the title tag is the same as the heading on this article. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but in this case, they're the same. It is much easier, and you go through many fewer pitfalls if you try to change this tag than if you try to change this way up at the top. If you change the URL, which is /blog/Dreamforce-2016-favorite-things, if you try to change this, then any of the links that have linked from your site or from anybody else's site to this page are now broken. For example, if for some reason on the Splash Media U blog, I wanted to link to this article on Dreamforce, that link will no longer work if I change the URL. So if you need to update your site, much better to make site changes to the headlines or even to the meta titles if you have to, than to try to change the URL. Okay, so a long explanation, but let's go back to our second. So our second section is the how, and I want to show you I want to cover just briefly a couple of different WordPress options, and then I'll actually walk you through setting up a quick WordPress site that could look really slick and be the hub of everything you do online. There are a couple things to keep in mind if you decide to go with WordPress. There are two basic WordPress options. There's the option that you host on a server that you pay for, and there's the option that WordPress hosts. There's WordPress.org, and that is the option that allows you to install an instance of WordPress onto a server service that you use. So you'd have to get two different services. You'd have to get your domain, www.mycompany.com. You have to get that somewhere, and then you'd also have to get a server. You have to pay for web hosting. Now that may be the same company. There are a lot of companies that offer both those services. GoDaddy is just one example, one big popular example that comes to mind. So you may have the same company that offers both the domain, in other words, www.mycompany.com or .org, .net, whatever, and the hosting. But you'll have to have both of those things if you go with WordPress.org. The advantages of WordPress.org when you're installing WordPress onto your server, onto your hosting service, is that it includes a lot more theme options. So you have a lot more templates that you could work with because they go well beyond just the ones that WordPress creates. There are businesses dedicated to creating hundreds of WordPress themes. So that's one of the advantages of WordPress.org, hosting it yourself. Another advantage is you have more options available within the theme itself. For example, plugins. Plugins are little extra features that allow you to add functionality to your site. For example, you can build in Google Analytics. You can build in some SEO options that appear right in the WordPress dashboard and make updating the SEO, the search engine optimization side of your site, very easy. So the second, let's go ahead and do the second poll here before I demonstrate. So our poll question for the how portion, how am I going to do this, is on a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is super easy and 5 is very difficult. How easy is it for you, and I'm not talking about your web team if you have a web development person or web designer, how easy is it for you to go into your website and modify it and make changes? Small changes, big changes. How easy is it for you to log in, make the changes you want to see, and get out, and then have your website reflect those? On a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is super easy, I do it all the time, 5 is very difficult. So think about that, and I'll read a couple answers if they appear, and then I'll pause just for a second here, and then I'll go into the WordPress.com option, which is the other option in the two WordPress, the main WordPress options you have. Easy, good, wonderful. Your cities. Okay, so the second main option for WordPress. So remember, WordPress.org is where you go to install, just like you would some other software. You have to install an instance of WordPress onto a server, onto a hosting service that you pay for. The other option, which is the one that I'm going to demonstrate because it's just so easy to set up right away, is at WordPress.com. And WordPress.com is a cloud-hosted version. I mean, it's all cloud if you think of the servers in the cloud, but it's the service that is hosted by WordPress. And it's free with some premium features that you can build in, that you can add on to it. So your free site, as a lot of the website platforms do, is offered at yourcompany.wordpress.com. Now remember, for the WordPress hosting that you do yourself, you also have to have a domain. You have to have the mycompany.com. For WordPress.com, you do not have to start off with mycompany.com if you're starting from scratch. You will be given for free mycompany.wordpress.com. And again, I hope this is clear. You're filling in, when I say my company, you fill that in with your company. It's not my company. You fill it in with, abcflorist.wordpress.com. And you can upgrade on the .com side to things like your own domain. So you could then from there go to mycompany.com, or you could go to abcflorist.com, whatever your website is. So you can pay for small upgrades at a time. Now, the disadvantage, we talked about the advantage of WordPress.org. The disadvantage of .com is that you don't have as many of those theme options available to you. There are fewer templates to choose from, but there are some very popular ones that do a great job of representing you and your company, and I'll show you a couple of those. And the other disadvantage that it's the same advantage we talked about on the .org side as the disadvantage on the .com side, is that you don't have the access to certain plugins. You're limited to what the theme provides. You choose the theme, you choose the template, but on the .com, on the free side, you're limited to all the add-ons for that particular theme. So let's actually stop talking about it and demonstrate it. So let's go over to a WordPress site that I already have set up as a demo. When you first log into WordPress, if you've already got your site up and running, you'll see a very basic dashboard here. There are actually two versions of the dashboard. There's the simple version here that's a little bit more user-friendly, and if you click down here at the bottom, where it says WP Admin, WordPress Admin, you'll get this version. Oh, no, you won't. Let me go back. Didn't click on it. That's why it didn't appear. You'll get this version, which offers a few more items to go through and customize and modify and add to. I started sort of with the second half of this to show you the dashboard, just so it's not overwhelming when you see it. But what I really want to show you is how easy it is to set up a site. And I want to reiterate, and I don't think I can repeat this too many times, WordPress is not the only option, but it is a great option for starting the site quickly and using a template that's already built that you only have to make minimal modifications to. So this is the 5-minute overhaul version or portion of the workshop itself. So let's go over to, I'll come back to those tabs and show you a little bit about the inner workings of the WordPress dashboard. But first I want to show you how easy it is to set this up. When you first go to WordPress.com, now I'm logged in already, so I'm looking at a slightly different. When you first go to WordPress.com, and again, that's the site that I'm demonstrating, you are going to have to create an account just like you would on any other piece of software or site. Create an account for your free site, and then from here, when you click on create a site, WordPress helps direct you to the best layout for your site depending on your business. So let's say you're an author, you may want to go to writing. If you're a school, you may want to go to education and organizers. Let's just go to the generic business and services. From here, it breaks it down even more. Let's say we are a car repair shop. We're a mechanic. Clicked on that, and then we have a couple of options for the layout of the page. Now, everything you see here can be changed when you go back into the dashboard that I showed you first. You can change the theme if you need to. You can customize different elements of the theme, certain elements, but this just walks you through the initial steps setting up your site. Okay, so what do I want the homepage to look like? Do I want to go more for the blog look and show articles? That may be very helpful if you are, say, a doctor's office and you want, and your main priority is educating your patients on things they need to be aware of for flu season, whatever. You may want to show posts first. Do you want to have a welcome page? Do you want to have a grid of your latest posts? The grid may be more helpful if you're an artist. If you're a photographer, you want to have a portfolio show up first. That's the site layout that may be the most helpful for you. We're going to choose this middle one, just a standard welcome page. Maybe people can even book an appointment to bring their car in, or at least they can learn more about the repair shop. Let's scroll down. So this is where you have the main section to choose your theme. Now, these are all pre-built for you. So this is the best part about using a site like WordPress. There are others, but a site like WordPress that has pre-built themes. Because when I say overhaul your website in 5 minutes, you can really do that, because in less than 5 minutes, we're able to select one of these very professional looking sites. And then I can make, with some very quick changes, the site customized to my business. So let's just do a quick scroll through here and see. This one's not bad. I want to choose something simple that I can modify easily for an auto body shop. Let's just go with this one. This looks pretty good. Let's say pick. Of course, I'll want to grab some images from somewhere. The best thing you can do for images is to go take pictures of your business. Now, that's, of course, easier said than done when you have a business that may not have products and services that are photographable as a mechanic, because obviously you can take pictures of cars and the lifts and everything, and the front desk. If you offer software, for example, or finance solutions, you may have to look into some stock photography. Hopefully you'll find a solution where the photography looks more personalized than stock, but did I click pick? There we go. Okay. So here's where you choose your website. And again, if you're starting from scratch, you can always go back and upgrade to your domain, your ABC auto mechanic. But let's just say ABC mechanic. And let's see, it'll come up with, and actually you can do that from this screen here. You can choose the free one. You can upgrade. Now, of course, abcmechanic.com is taken because it's a fairly generic name. So let's say the ABC Mechanic Services. I'm trying to pick one that's got the .com available. I'm going really long. ABC Mechanic Services today. .com is available. Fancy that. So the reason I kept typing, if you didn't catch that, was because what the first couple of options that I had were too generic. The .coms were already taken because there are millions, hundreds of millions of websites of domains that are already claimed. So abcmechanicservicestoday.com is available for $18 a year. I can stick with the free version, and it'll give me abcmechanicservicestoday.wordpress.com. That is free, and I can always go back later, assuming someone else doesn't, grab it up for me, because who knows, that site could become really popular. Click select, and I'm on the free. And these are some additional upgrades you can look into on your own. But again, I'm on the free version. Select free, and it's building my site. Continue. That's it. I've got a brand new website, and I'll show you just very quickly how easy it is. I want to make sure we're running slightly over time now because I want to cover our third section, but I'll show you how easy it is to grab some great imagery for this for your site, and basically you're done. I mean, you may want to get your own domain. You may want to customize. Well, yes, you certainly will want to customize the text on the copy on this page, but that's how easy it is to create a very professional looking website. You've got the footer down here at the bottom. I can change my location, change this widget here, change the text there, the copy on any of these different sections. I said widget, that may not have been clear. Widget is a section of the page that offers some additional functionality or information aside from the standard posts or pages that you set up in the structure. So one example of that would be the footer of the page. The footer can have widgets. For example, the map is a widget. This menu is a widget. If you wanted to have your Twitter feed, so for example, this is one I set up just a few minutes ago or earlier so I could demonstrate. I've got a Twitter feed set up in this particular widget. So back on the one we just created, this is your page. I can go into customize now. Let's go into, back here, go back to the dashboard. And I can now customize this site. Let's go down to, so this is the simplified dashboard. There were two different dashboards you can choose from. This is the simplified dashboard where I can add posts, I can add pages, and I can customize. I'm just going to do some very simple customizations here. There's where it says themes. I'm going to click on customize. It's a very simple customization so you can see how everything pops up as you're building it. So here are the customization options for this particular theme. I can change the site title. So again, our company is ABC Mechanic Services Today. What a great business name that is. So this is the tagline that will appear here. So let's say great opportunity to make this key phrase friendly, optimization friendly. So let's say something like auto mechanic. I spelled that wrong. Auto mechanic. Let's just say, I have no idea. As you can tell, this is how often I get my car service. No idea what the terminology is. Let's say automobile service in St. Paul. So that's a tagline. You can save and publish, and basically the site is up there, ready to go. You can start directing people to abcmechanicservicestoday.wordpress.com at any time. You can go through and upgrade to one of the other options, like a customized domain. You can close out of here, and there's some great free stock photo sites out there if you want to replace some of those photos. So let's quickly cover that last item. We're running a little over here. The last section I wanted to cover is just a few of the advanced features, and we'll cover the dashboard here to show you some of those. But the poll question finally is, are there features on your current site that you don't have now that you'd like to add? And I'll show you how easy that is to do on WordPress very quickly. What are some sites, as you're considering either overhauling your site, which we just demonstrated how to start completely from scratch, or if you just want to update or upgrade your site, are there any functions or features from your from what you've seen browsing the internet, from your competitors, from somewhere else in the industry that you'd like to add to your site. That could be, and I'm talking about things like forms, e-commerce, some embedded video. You want to add social media embedded somewhere on your site, like you saw in the Twitter feed that I showed briefly. Some of the things that you'd like to add in that you don't currently have. And so now what we'll do is we'll talk about a few of the extra features you can build in. I'm going to cover that in just one second. I went to the wrong tab. We're going to cover a couple of the extra features that you can build in. Now, this is the more complicated dashboard version, but it's very helpful for showing some of these additional features. One of the things that you saw in the ABC Mechanics site, and what I need to do is actually view the site so you can see it. Sorry, I'm going to pause this for 1 second. Let me just open it up in a new. I'd rather show you the one that we just created because I think it will make more sense. So I'm just going to open it up in a new tab here. Here we go. Okay, so here's the site that we just built. A couple of the more customizable things that are not immediately visible in the dashboard. You do have to hunt for them a little bit, but still very easy to do. Things like the menu, things like the footer widgets. And I'll show you where those are in the dashboard. So you can click on menu and see some of the options that are provided. You can customize all of these. You can add contact information, about, blog. Let me show you where those are. The menus, let's go back to the main dashboard here. The menus are located in a section here under, sorry, let me scroll down just a little bit to the current section. There we go. Menus are here. And you can easily change the menu structure or add menu items into different menu sections on the page. And I know I'm kind of going all over the place here. There's a ton to cover in WordPress, and I think what it might be able to do is have a workshop just on the WordPress individual features and functions. But this is just to give you a very broad overview of the kinds of things you can customize. So you customize not only menu items, but menu locations, and things like the contact page is also customizable. You saw that on the, let's go back to the menu here and click on contact page. So here also some great opportunities for customization. You can include these fields anywhere else on the site, on the home page if you want. You can include these fields on individual blog posts. You can, of course, with all of the copy, go back and edit the copy that appears, and build all this functionality right into the site itself. So you can eliminate some of those other services if you have to have a separate form builder, a separate service for things like lead forms. You can build a lot of that right into the site. The last thing I want to cover before we leave the workshop here, we'll get off of WordPress, some of the other sites that also offer a wide variety of themes and templates besides WordPress, and we covered just briefly the two different options for WordPress site building. Some of those options are ones you may have heard of. One's called Squarespace, and you can see it at squarespace.com, some of their options. And another one of those is Wix, W-I-X, Wix.com. Similar to WordPress.com, in that they offer a free version of the site as you build it. So you could have, mycompany.wix or .squarespace.com, and then you can upgrade to the domain. So again, very easy to get started on the free side, and then upgrade if you want to have your own domain, or if you want to host it yourself. There's a wide variety of other options as you go beyond just the free initial starting point. We covered a lot of things. I realize this may be overwhelming if you're just now developing your site, but that's why I wanted to show you how easy it is just to get started with some very professional looking templates on a site like WordPress. And again, Wix and Squarespace offer some of those similar templates as well. Let me show you two quick examples before we close it out here. And our question is, how do payments happen? Shopping cart. Okay, so those can happen via WordPress.org. You can include, so there are two ways. through the .org portion. And again, the .org version of WordPress is the one where you install yourself an instance of WordPress onto a hosting service. So if you go that route, you can actually use any number of plugins that are available through WordPress. In fact, if you go to WordPress.com, pardon me, .org, not .com, we're talking about the .org. You go to WordPress.org, there's a section on here where you can look at various plugins, again, which are available only through the .org sites, the .org users, and you can search plugins for e-commerce. See what comes up here. Yeah, so there's some various tools you can use. A lot of the e-commerce solutions have ways that you can build in just with a little bit of copy and pasting of the code that they provide, build in functionality onto any web page. So, for example, if you go through a site like Shopify, for example, we use that as just a widely used e-commerce solution. Shopify provides some code that you can use to build into a site. So you don't necessarily need a plugin. You could go with the .com side, the free side, and create a page on that .com site dedicated to your storefront or your shopping experience for your users, for your clients. So you can go to your separate e-commerce solution, Shopify or whatever else you use, copy and paste the code that they provide and put it right into a page. Still not clear on the that's a great question. So still not clear on the .com, .org. Julio provided a site. It's basically how you want to host your site. And I know that's not describing it very well, but if you want someone else to do all the hosting for you and a very simple solution, .com is the way to go. And there is a way to transition that site from .com to and I think what probably isn't clear is if you go with WordPress.org, that does not mean that your domain is mycompany.org. That just means that's the separate service offered. There are two different services offered by WordPress, and you start working with each individual service depending on which WordPress site you go to. So if you want to host the site yourself, in other words, pay a service to host your site, then you go to WordPress.org. If you want WordPress to do the hosting, which is the easier of the two solutions if you're just starting off, then you go to WordPress.com. That may have been the part that wasn't very clear. It's not that your site becomes mycompany.org. It's that's how you start the process of setting up your site. You either go to WordPress.org if you want to host it or pay for hosting, and you go to WordPress.com if you want WordPress to host it. Hopefully that cleared it up a little bit. Julio pasted in a great article to help explain the difference. But again, on the e-commerce side for shopping carts, there are shopping cart options available for both, whether you go the simplified route of hosting it on WordPress or you go the more complicated version of hosting it yourself or through another service. Shopping options available for both. So the last two things I want to cover, and again, I know we're over time, thank you for sticking with us, are two examples of how you can customize your site. So these two sites, one is for athlete Usain Bolt, and the other one is for this music service called GraceNote. The GraceNote site is an example of a company that took a theme and did not need to do much with it. So they took one of GraceNote is actually built on the second most popular theme in all of WordPress. It's called Divi, D-I-V-I, and it was developed by, I think, a company called Elegant Themes. And again, I mentioned this at the very beginning. There are companies that all they do is develop WordPress themes. So if you go with the .org version of having someone paying for a service to host your site or you host it yourself, if you go with that version, there are thousands and thousands of themes, and this company uses the most popular, or the second most popular theme available. So what I'm trying to show you here is you can go with one of these popular themes, and you don't need to add in much customization. You just may have to change a logo, change some photos out to make it your own. You can do very little customization if you want to. Now, on the opposite end of that scale here is this site from Usain Bolt's site is an athlete he went with an athlete-driven theme. There's actually a company that creates websites for a variety of different athletes across a variety of different sports, and that's the theme that Usain Bolt is using. A very customized, very client-oriented site that is tailored to this particular industry, to athletes, to this particular person. So you can go either into that scale. You can go with something that you just adopt the theme and you don't need to do a whole lot of customization like you saw in Gracenote, or you can go with a theme that you really want to dig into and customize yourself, or pay another service to customize for you. It's up to you. So there are a wide variety of ways to go with, if you go with WordPress, wide variety of levels to choose when it comes to customization. Again, we covered a lot. I hope that at the very least opens your eyes to the opportunity to overhaul a site quickly and make it look professional right off the bat, right out of the gate. You can make the site look very professional just using a simple, straightforward theme and just customizing some of the text and some of the photos. One of the reasons that I didn't mention before that I like WordPress over some of the sites like Squarespace and Wix is it may sound funny when I say it, but it's actually because there are fewer customization options. Now, that's not to say you can't customize the site. If you know what you're doing and know code, you can go in and customize a lot of it. But what overwhelms me about sites like Squarespace and Wix is that everything is customizable. You can move simply by dragging and dropping things all over the page. For me, as someone who's not a designer, not a website designer, not a graphic designer, that is overwhelming. That's too much for me. I like being able to choose a theme and just change the text, change some photos, and be ready to roll. So if you're like me, WordPress may be the way to go. If you have that designer's eye, then you may want to look into a site like Squarespace or Wix, where every little item can be clicked and dragged somewhere else across the site on the screen. In fact, Julio even posted into the chat window there some additional software to use. I'm guessing WordPress is on that. In fact, we can go to it now. Let's just take a quick scroll through the this list of top 10. I'm guessing Squarespace, Wix, and WordPress are on this list, but this is a great place to review. Thank you, Julio. Some of those options available. Let's see. Oh, this may just show me one at a time. So certainly a site worth reviewing when you have the time. Is that what it does? One at a time? Can't see it. Portal review? Well, take a look at this article. Take a look at the article, scroll through. I'm guessing there's a way to go to the next item here. But anyway, take a look at that article, and if you do a search for some of the top CMS software, CMS stands for Content Management System. Content management or content management software will. Oh, there we go. Okay, wrong. So use the second link. Let's open that one up. There we go. Oh, this shows it in a chart form too. That's nice. I know you're looking at this through my screen, so I apologize. It may kind of bunch up and not be able to show you everything at once. Probably better for you to take a look at this on your own screen, separate from the workshop. But we're looking at. Here we go. Here we go. They're up here at the top. Okay, there we go. Here we go. So here's some examples. WordPress. Here's the second one. Drupal. Joomla, some other ones available. Doesn't happen to have Squarespace and Wix on this particular chart, but I'm sure you can find a comparison chart that's similar to that if you want to compare some of the features. But a great way to compare features of different website management systems here. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you got a lot out of it. And again, I realize it's overwhelming if you're just now starting, but I wanted to give you just the basic idea that overhauling the site is easier than you think, and also easier to make it look professional. I think when we think of overhauling our site, we think, how is it possibly going to look professional if I'm not a designer? Well, the nice thing about one of these options is you don't have to be a designer, because you can choose a theme or a template, customize just a few quick things, and you're off and ready to go. We just barely scratched the surface of some of those more complicated options, and that may have been a little confusing as I started to dive into the dashboard. So Julio, what we'll do, I think, is maybe even follow up our November workshop on WordPress, and maybe we'll cover some of the things like menus and form building and go a little bit deeper. That way we don't have to just scratch the surface and leave our workshop attendees wanting more. But thank you again for joining us. Again, we recorded the workshop today. It will be available if you want to go back and review some of the examples, which hopefully that may be the most helpful thing that you saw today. Earlier on, some of the examples we showed, all of which were built on the WordPress platform. You can go back and review those at any time. So thank you again. Hopefully that was helpful. If you need to reach out to us, you can tweet to Julio at @SplashMediaU on Twitter. I see those tweets as well, or you can reach out directly to me at Duncan Gilman, and I'll put those two in the chat window right now before we go. But again, thanks so much for joining us, and hope you have a great rest of your week. I'll go ahead and include those Twitter handles here in case you need to reach out.